It's a real pleasure and an honor to be able to share this amazing and profound healing and ascension system with you. Before we begin, though, so that you can get the best possible viewing experience, it would be a great idea if you could turn off all the programs that are running in the background on your computer or on your phone. And what that will do is that's going to eliminate any buffering so the system doesn't get so stuck. Also, I suggest you turn your phone off and just make sure that you're not disturbed in any way. And what that does is that kind of just going to create a little bit of a sacred space for you and just really support you to really be completely focused on this training. And you'll really be able to get 100% out of it, which will be fantastic. So, I also need to say that because we're dealing with energy and frequency, you may just at times lose me a little bit. Like you might feel a little bit tired, or you might just feel a little bit altered and not kind of be able to follow what I'm saying. And that's absolutely fine. Now, I would suggest that you don't listen to this whilst you're driving or anything that really needs your full focus. Because it's like it almost kind of puts you into a meditative state just because of the energy behind my voice and the words I'm speaking kind of creates a bit of an impact on you. So, just go with the flow, just stay in your heart, sit back, relax, and just absorb the energy and the frequencies. Now, if you do have any questions, I'm not going to be able to answer them straight away, but I will absolutely get back to you after the training. So, if any questions come to you during the training, then please just pop them in the box and then I'll get back to you. What I generally find though is because people get kind of so entranced and mesmerized and absorbed with the training, they don't necessarily think of anything in the moment because they're just kind of listening and watching the training. But if you do, then just pop it in the box and I will get back to you. So I'm not quite sure what drew you to this webinar, but I do find after having worked with this energy now for over 10 years, that there's a kind of a common theme to the sort of people that get attracted to this lineage of teaching, to this system of healing. And what I'd like to do is just kind of go over some of those reasons because I'm pretty sure you will fall into one, if not some, of these kind of areas of reasons why. So the first one is spiritual crisis. So I'm sure many of you have experienced a spiritual crisis or are currently in a spiritual crisis. And we're going through, the planet is going through an accelerated evolutionary period right now. And so we're in a pressure cooker. We're all being pushed hugely to make a lot of shifts and clearings within ourselves. And sometimes we can get outside triggers that push us. Now, those outside triggers can take many different forms. Maybe you could be in a health crisis, that you're being really challenged with your health at the moment. Or maybe it could be a work situation that's come up that's really, really challenging you. It could be relationships. It could be the death of someone close to you. These are all different triggers that push us to go deeper within ourselves, to get more sense and meaning out of our life and to make shifts in our perceptions. So that may be the case for some of you, that you are actually in a spiritual crisis, like a dark night of the soul, and you're searching for answers in relation to what's going on for you right now. Now, for others of you, you may be just in a very accelerated period of growth for you personally, and you're really wanting to speed up and like fast track that whole process for yourself. Others of you are just feeling really drawn to birth more of your divinity. So you're kind of, you've perhaps been on the spiritual path for a while now, and you're really feeling more of those divine frequencies coming through, and you're really attracted to doing whatever you feels necessary, however you're guided by your higher self to be able to birth more of your divine self. Some of you just get a sense that, I don't know, you just feel like you want to connect more to your spiritual sense of self. Maybe up until this moment in time, you've not had the space to do that, you've not had the inclination, but for whatever reason, you're just drawn now more to connect more to that spiritual sense and side of yourself. Just develop that within yourself. Others maybe just wanting to work more with their Kundalini and light body technology. You've maybe read a lot of books and you've taken quite a few workshops. Maybe you've done some Reiki or worked with different healing modalities, but you almost want to kind of step it up to another level now, and so you're really drawn to working more with the light body technology. Some of you may be really drawn to birthing and mastering more of your spiritual gifts and talents. Maybe you have a sense of that deep within you, and you really want to bring that out now. You're really ready to do that. Others, maybe you want to feel more peace and unconditional love and compassion. So you really want to work with the deeper chambers of your heart, go deeper into that and birth more of that those higher emotional states. And others of you just want to understand, embody, and bring through more of your higher purpose and destiny. You have a sense that you want to be more of service in your life. You've got to that point now where you're really ready to do that. So you're just really feeling drawn to stepping in at whatever level that you need to, so that you can really connect more to your higher purpose and destiny. So we're going to be looking at all of that in this webinar, and what I would like to do is kind of just explain a little bit of my process of how I came across Transference Healing, and kind of the journey that I took up to that point before being exposed and really embracing this lineage. And then through doing that, connecting in and going through all the different steps that I needed to go through, the workshops that I attended, the trainings I did, right up through all the mystery schools that anchored so far. So that was the first 4 mystery schools, and how that supported me, so that I feel you'll be able to get a wider picture within this whole lineage of transference healing. So here's me. That was taken a long time ago, and I really, as you can see, I really wasn't very well at all. Now, I've always been interested in all things to do with spirituality, energy, crystals, healing, just the deeper mysteries, those hidden mysteries. I thought that's kind of always just been me. I've always been interested in that. And what happened was, for my own personal journey, that I was extremely sensitive as a child. And because of my extreme sensitivity, my kind of psyche was quite open, but my emotional body just couldn't cope. In fact, what I actually did was I just shut down that whole aspect of my emotional body, because I just couldn't cope with everything. People didn't understand me around me, and my only way of coping was kind of just to shut that whole aspect of myself down. Now, I did that at a very early age. And what that actually meant was it created severe consequences for me in terms of my health, in terms of my ability to manifest, and in terms of me just feeling, more love, more joy, more peace, because I just kind of cut that whole aspect of myself down. So even though I had throughout those early years developed a certain level of consciousness in my spiritual understandings. So like I'd read hundreds and hundreds of books, attended countless trainings and workshops, but I still just wasn't making those shifts within myself. So I wasn't healing. I just wasn't able to heal because I was just so shut down emotionally. Now, how that manifested in my health was that I had huge depletion issues. I mean, at my worst, I was kind of sleeping, like most of the day. I just hadn't got any energy at all. I was just completely depleted, and that left me incredibly frustrated because although I understood a lot of the spiritual teachings and understanding, it just wasn't manifesting in my life. And I tried everything, I tried all different types of alternative healing, crystal healing, light body work, but nothing, absolutely nothing was working for me. And then I came across Transference Healing, and it was at that point that I started, that I trained, and I did as much training as I could at that in that one point, that it was then that my life started to change. Now, a lot of that was opened up through my chiron wounding. Now, what happens in transference healing is that we work a lot with the chiron wounding. So think of your chiron wounding basically as a wounding that you take with you throughout every single lifetime. It's like the baggage that we take, right? That we carry with us. It's like all the unresolved stuff that we bring through in each lifetime until we actually start to resolve it. And that accumulated baggage has a common thread. So we each have our own chiron wounding, and there's a common thread to that chiron wounding. There are 12 specific types of chiron wounding. And once I started to understand what my chiron wounding was and how that manifested, I could really start to work with it through the transference healing, because there's a specific point in our etheric body that connects right into our chiron wounding. So it enabled me to essentially go into the work wounding as opposed to skirt round it, because it's our deepest wounding. What our ego does, it will do everything to avoid feeling that wounding. So, and this is kind of often delegated like subconsciously. We don't even realize we're doing it, but all our actions, the things that we do, the decisions we make often are all evolve around not going into that wounding. However, the actual way to really self-heal and to clear as much as you can and to accelerate your ascension journey and to master and bring through those higher gifts and talents and to really bring through your destiny and purpose is to go into your chiron wounding. It's the only way, because you need to start to unravel and let go and resolve that baggage, as it were. And so that's what I did. I went through and started to work with the chiron wounding through the transference healing. Now, there's two things that I need to tell you about that. And there's two really important things that I feel everyone needs to understand in relation to, accelerating their growth, or if you're going through a spiritual crisis, or if you want to master more in your life. And there's two things you need to do. The first thing is you need to be able to run frequency. If you really want to accelerate your journey, you need to run frequency through you. So I actually spent, I worked as, I did Reiki, I worked the light body energy, but it wasn't enough. I needed to run a higher frequency and more complex frequencies through my body. So I needed to run what's called alchemical as well as light body frequencies through it, which is what I wasn't doing. I was running light body, but I wasn't running the alchemical aspects to it. And it was the alchemical aspects to it that made those shifts for me in my physical body so that I could start to self-heal. So it's absolutely important and absolutely fundamental for each one of us to be able to run those higher frequencies of light, on a daily or weekly or monthly basis through us, so that we can really start to make those shifts that we need to make. And the second most important thing that we all need to do is we need to learn how to detox and purify and surrender. So it's like there's no point bringing in those higher frequencies, more of those elemental frequencies, the prana and the electromagnetic frequencies, if you do not surrender and let go. Otherwise, all that's going to happen is that you're going to literally kind of back up. And that's what happened to me. I was kind of backing up because I wasn't purifying and letting go. Now, I'm not talking about like like a detox physically, although that does help. I'm really talking about a detoxification and a purification at more of a mental and emotional level. So it's consciously learning how to do that. And this is one of the reasons why I birthed an online training program, primarily for myself and then for my clients, to support them how to do that for themselves, because it's a really key part in any fast tracking process. If you really want to be able to absorb those higher frequencies, you've got to consistently and continually learn how to purify, surrender and let go, because otherwise you just do not have enough space within your energy system to allow those higher frequencies to come in. They'll kind of come in, but they'll just kind of hover, and you won't be able to fully embody those frequencies within your physical body, within your mental body, and your emotional and spiritual body. So it's like you have to continually go through what I call like a death rebirth. So you have to continually go through a letting go and purification, and then an assimilation of energy. You're continually doing that. And that's essentially what the energies of transference enable you to do, is to go through that process energetically. So as I did that over time, and this was my self-healing process. So initially everyone has to go and learn how to self-heal to a certain extent. So they have to go within, they need to clear, they need to run the energy, and that creates a clearing process, a purifying process at a DNA. So it helps to clear DNA weaknesses, genetic weaknesses that we hold, clearing distortions and negativity and blockages and past life wounding and karmic wounding that's held deep within our physical body, our emotional body, and our mental body. And so that's a lot of that chiron wounding that I was talking about and explaining about earlier. Now, as you do that, and this is what then started to happen to me, you then start to clear a proportion of that density. And as you do that and learn to that self-healing, you then start to open up more and begin to then self-master more. And so that's what happened to me. As I learned to do it for myself, I then started to work with clients and started to work with larger groups, supporting people. And for me, one of my gifts that started to manifest was through working on sacred sites and kind of clearing distortion there and density, and working with people on sacred sites. So I think it was from 2013 to about 2015, went through a lot of sacred sites. I traveled a lot, traveled all over the world. I went to Australia, went to Uluru, I went to the Pyramid of Giza in Egypt, did a huge mass healing there, worked with people. I also worked with people physically. I took them on tours to Glastonbury and also to France, to the Rennes-le-Château area, the sacred site there. Also worked in different areas in France and did mass healing. So, for example, at Chartres. I also went to Mexico and worked at a sacred site there, Palenque, and worked with the whole Yucatan area there. Also went down to Avebury and also Scotland, and traveled everywhere and worked with groups all over. And that was my initial beginnings of my self-mastery journey. So I worked more with the transference healing energy and started to experience through that more light body travel, and really started to activate specific keys and codes within my own light body system that enabled me to access those more spiritual gifts and talents, and so that's the process that I'm now in. And it's it takes time to do that, more and more and more, because each time you anchor those higher gifts and talents, you then have to embody them, and that's you start to understand them more, and then you integrate another aspect of your light body, and another gift starts to birth itself and anchor and master. Now, this whole process takes many, many years, if not lifetimes, to master. However, because we are in a very unique period of time right now, those of us who really choose to master that process can really accelerate that process and really bring through so many more gifts and talents through that. So what are those spiritual gifts and talents, and where are they held? Well, they come from the keys and codes that are held in your light body. So every single one of us has a light body, and within that light body, we each hold very unique keys and codes, like we're templated. And I feel everyone that's drawn to transference healing, you would have mastered in previous lifetimes. And that mastery, those gifts and talents are held within your light body. Now, you can't just get hold of those keys and codes. You have to go through a whole process to integrate your light body into your mental body, your emotional body, and your physical body. That's really, really important. I cannot overemphasize this, is that it has to come all the way into your physical body. Your genetics, your DNA has to go through a decoding and recoding process to enable this to happen. And over time, as long as you run the right frequency and you are able to go through your own clearings and purifications, this will start to happen. And that's what happened to me, and that's what I see happening to others. So what I'd like to cover today is to talk a little bit about all of that, but it was also in talk about the importance of the grid, because that's super, super important and really is what facilitates this whole process of light body integration that I'm talking about, and also the process of alchemy, so that you can create that purification and clearings within yourself and within your physical body, so that the light can anchor in. I also want to talk about light body symptoms, because I feel that's really important, and everyone's really being impacted now with light body symptoms. I'm also going to talk about what transference healing is, and also how you personally can use transference healing in your day-to-day life. So let's start by looking at the global grid matrix. So We have it, just as we have a kind of blueprint to our physical body, so our etheric body, the planet also has a blueprint as well, and that's called the global grid matrix. And the global grid matrix is like a lattice work of light that surrounds and works interdimensionally through the whole of the planet. And where this lattice work of light intersects, where you've got a lot of intersection points, is where you'll find the sacred sites. So the sacred sites are where people go and where the ancients went to access interdimensional energies, to get more healing, to be able to receive greater wisdom and knowledge and sacred teachings, because they were like a portal that connected up into different dimensions because of the connection points. There were more connection points at those sacred sites, and the ancients knew this. They understood this technology and they worked with this technology. So in ancient times, I'm talking the times of Lemuria and Atlantis, before the fall of Atlantis, the grid was at a much higher frequency than it is now. And each one of us in those times was intricately connected into the grid, and everything was delegated via the grid. Our whole health, our whole healing, our wellness, our ability to light body travel, connect into our multidimensional self, everything was delegated via the grid. However, what happened through the times of Atlantis is that the grid fell in frequency. It got lower in density, it became more dense. And as it got denser and denser, it couldn't sustain Atlantis, and literally Atlantis fell and disappeared because of the frequencies that were held at that time could not sustain the planet, and so it fell. And many of us still feel that wounding, which is why some of us really struggle to reconnect back into the grid. We just couldn't manage to do that. So the grid just got lower and lower in vibration. I think it kind of reached its peak of lowness, as it were, in 1999, when it couldn't really go any lower. And it was at that point that the grid then started to, more light started to come in through cosmic activity, stellar activity, and the grid started to become, for a better word, more charged. More energy was starting to run through it, more electromagnetic energy from all the cosmic and stellar activations that were going on. Now, because each one of us we are all connected to the grid, it meant that we started to absorb those frequencies coming in more. And so over time, what was starting to happen is that we were starting to get more light body symptoms, because we were having more electromagnetic energy come through into our physical body and consciousness. And that electromagnetic energy is hitting density within us, and therefore creating light body symptoms. So this is a continually evolving process. Up until 2012, it actually then sustains itself, the grid, into a fifth dimensional frequency, which is what's so unique about being on the planet right now, because the planet is now not in a third dimension, it's now in a fifth dimension. So it's so much easier to work with light, to work with energy. And as we become literally lighter and lighter, what was going to happen is that we are going to become more and more drawn to work to sustain our wellness, our health, and our evolutionary process, to work with energy, basically, to work with frequency, to work with specific frequencies that sustain us, because it's like it's almost becomes like a food for us. It's what our body needs more. It's what our body will need more and more and more is light, basically, to sustain wellness and just keep on growing and accelerate our own evolutionary process. So at a very foundational level within the grid, we have an etheric body, and that etheric body is highly, highly complex. So it consists of, I don't know, it's about 560 odd chakras. You have 7 main chakras, and then you have the higher chakras. You have the acupuncture points, the meridians, the nadis, and a lot of Eastern philosophy has understood this this whole system at that level. And if you listen to some of the Taoist monks, they'll explain how, you know, we are all connected via the grid, and that you sustain your wellness through connecting into the prana, to the elements, to the nature spirit, to the crystalline energy, to the planetary energy. And that's how you sustain your wellness. However, because the grid fell in frequency, we were not able to connect like we needed to connect, and we just became more and more dense within ourselves, within our etheric body, and within our physical body. But now, as the grid is shifting and has shifted and will continue to shift, we are now having to absorb, and we're needing to absorb more of this foundational level of the grid. So the prana, the planetary energy, the elements, and the crystalline energy, to really sustain more wellness within our system. And so what we're needing to do is to continually purify, to let go of the distortion, so that we can then pull in that energy. As we pull in this different energy, this universal source energy, our body is then able to rejuvenate, replenish itself, nourish itself, and self-heal. But it cannot do that if it doesn't have the correct energy being fed into it. So that's how you do it, by going through and doing the clearings. You can then feed in more of that energy. Now, as you work through your self-healing process, you will then start to go more into that self-mastery journey, as I explained earlier. And then you go into a deeper aspect of the grid. And as you do that, you connect more into then the angelic frequencies, the galactic frequencies, the higher crystalline energy, and the elemental frequencies. You're better able to absorb that, because the more you go through your self-mastery process, you're needing to absorb those more higher frequencies to sustain yourself, your body, and your consciousness in a whole different holographic bubble, as it were, because you're connecting in more to your multidimensional self, and that multidimensional self needs those different frequencies to sustain itself. So you become more open to those other realms, and you're able to retrieve universal knowledge, universal wisdom. You understand what's going on for yourself, you understand what's going on for others, you understand what's going on for the grid, and you're just able to be in that flow of energy. Okay, so what stops us from absorbing these energies? Well, what's stopping us is all our wounding that's contained within our DNA from all those lifetimes of, heaviness and distortion being in that 3D. So that whole process is delegated by your base chakra, and the whole DNA has to go through a whole decoding and recoding process to clear genetic weaknesses, and clearing wounding from inner child, and also from all that past life wounding and the karmic wounding, and that's a lot of it is the chiron wounding that I explained earlier. So we're able to clear that within our etheric body, clear those blocks. And that basically creates a space within us so that we can absorb that light from the grid more. And that's that whole cycle basically that goes on. So it's like a decoding and recoding process, and this is all accessed via the global grid matrix that enables us to sustain wellness, to heal, to receive light body activations, and to be able to integrate more light. So how can we access the energies of the grid? Well, really important to be able to learn how to surrender and let go and purify. Also, by opening your heart more and working for your chiron wounding is going to release the restrictions within yourself so that you can do that. Also, by making a conscious connection to the grid regularly will also support you, as well as working with procedures and techniques that connect you directly up to the grid, say like with Transference Healing. When you're under the fundamental energy, that's exactly what it does, is it connects you up, realigns you back into the grid and balances you up so that you can sustain yourself more and connect more to those energies for self-healing, and creating that alchemical process within yourself so that you can regenerate, re-nurture, and revitalize your etheric body, which then impacts your physical body. So, what are light body symptoms and how can you work with them? So, as the grid is shifting in frequency and we are having or being impacted by more of that electromagnetic light, that electromagnetic light is impacting our emotional body, our mental body, and our physical body. And it's kind of hitting the denser parts of us. And as it hits those denser parts of us, it kind of brings up to the surface that density in whatever shape or form it's taking. And so we experience that as light body symptoms. And we are basically trying to go from what's called an Adam body into an Adam Kadden body. So there's a huge amount of technology that's involved within that, because our whole DNA is going through a decoding and recoding process. Our emotional body is trying to clear density, and we're trying to shift perceptions through in our mental body. So the light body symptoms that we can experience, there's a whole range of them. And they can be anything from like having flu-like symptoms, having like aching in our bones and joints, to having like migraines and headaches, like ringing or dizziness in the ear or inner ear imbalances. May have heart palpitations or kind of like loss of muscular power, like tingling in your arms, hands or legs, or hormonal imbalances. You may experience intense fear at certain times, or feelings of separation and loss, just like symptomatic pain as well, especially for the back and the neck. Also just, really having feeling stress in the nervous system is a big one. And also just a lot of psychological and emotional issues, because the light's coming in and it's kind of pulling it all up to the surface. So there's a lot that goes on with those light body symptoms, and the key to working with it is being able to work with the electromagnetic energy in such a way that it enables us to shift and clear the density so the light can come in more. I also want to say that no one is immune to light body symptoms. It doesn't matter how evolved you are, whether you're like a kind of global master on this planet, you will still get light body symptoms, because light body symptoms are just a natural process, a natural consequence of you having to go deeper into your physical body and clear. So we all get light body symptoms, but really what we're trying to do is basically enable those light body symptoms to just kind of flow through us with as much ease and grace, so that we don't get so stuck in them. And so working with the Transference Healing energy really, really supports that process, because it contains within it the frequencies that enables those symptoms to clear more effectively. I just want to share with you here a quote, because I think a lot of people kind of get a little bit, they have misconceptions around what it means to work with energy and spiritual frequencies. So, and the whole ascension process. So, ascension occurs not only in consciousness, but also in the body. The human body is the vehicle through which we crystallize light. It is the key to our ascension process. Self-healing is absolutely vital to our integration with the light body and our evolution into the Christ body and consciousness. So that's a quote by Alexis Cartwright, who is the founder and anchorer of Transference Healing. I will talk a little bit more about Alexis in a moment, but I just wanted to introduce this quote from her because it's so key. And I, like I said, I feel that there's quite a lot of misconception about what it means to really bring through that spiritual energy. It's not about reading all the books and understanding all the concepts. You actually need to bring it through all aspects of your body. So that's your mental body, your emotional body, but also your physical body, because we have to literally crystallize that light within us. And that really is the key to the ascension process. It's like a crystallization process that has to happen to enable that self-healing to occur. So what actually is transference healing? What is this energy? So transference healing is a sacred lineage of teachings and frequency that facilitates a direct connection to the universe and all that bestows. So it's a lineage basically that offers a step-by-step process through the teachings, the workshops and the trainings for an enlightenment process. It's a unification through the light to self-heal and spiritually empower yourself. So when you and if you decide to step into the transference healing energy and it's all its technology, you come into what's called a diamond pyramid of light. And the diamond pyramid of light is basically the energetic technology behind the whole transference healing system. So held within it are all the frequencies, the workshops, the trainings that support the ascension process through this lineage of teachings. It upholds the energetic matrix of the Great Pyramid. So that's the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt. And it's a doorway through which you can interconnect with the dimensions that guide your evolutionary path. So this pyramid holds a transference healing frequency within our world. So it was established through the divine guidance of Lord Melchizedek and with the support of other spiritual masters. So these ascended masters support the knowledge and the energetic procedures that channel through each level. And through it, the universal mysteries can be accessed. So the purpose of this pyramid is to template a way to learn and evolve through this time of transition. It's a structure of support and unity that encourages you to manifest your fifth dimensional Adam-Kadmon body and for you to create your unique golden age reality. So each step within this pyramid is absolutely optional, and your progression through it is completely delegated by your higher self. So it does have many levels and layers to it, but it's not a hierarchy, as there are many different parts to healing and ascension, and we're all students in that. So the diamond pyramid of light seeks to hold a light for all of you in this journey to self-mastery. It's a platform upon which you are empowered to learn the hidden teachings of alchemy in order to heal yourself, anchor light, and embody your higher self, all of which empowers you to actively participate in the global ascension that's currently happening and occurring on our planet right now. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to show you it's a 3-minute video that Alexis created on the Mystery School teaching, so that you have an understanding of, what the Mystery School teachings are all about. So let's do that and then we'll come back.
We all hold the key to divine evolution and ascension. We all have access to the sacred teachings of alchemy and light body technology. We are all on this planet to heal, evolve and ascend into a higher state of being, a complete and multidimensional state of being. The Transference Healing Mystery School is the furthermost calling in a divine empowerment process through this frequency and lineage. It is a sacred opportunity to be initiated into the higher teachings of alchemy and light. Join me for 3 weeks at powerful grid locations around the world. Let me share universal teachings that explore healing lineages of the past, present and future. Be initiated into the teachings of Lord Melchizedek to understand the nature and responsibility of spiritual power. Be open to life-changing transformation and spiritual growth. Share this sacred opportunity to feel the healing guidance of spirit every day of your life. Connect with divine beings and Lost Mystery School teachings through the channelings, initiations, and rituals of the light. Know and embody your spiritual self. Empower your evolutionary journey.
Okay, so you can see that the Mystery School trainings, you really get a sense of the energy and the frequency from the Mystery School trainings through the videos, which is really beautiful. But as you can see on the Diamond Pyramid light, that the Mystery School trainings lie at the very top of the capstone. And you have the fundamental training at the bottom, which is the foundation. It sustains, it creates that foundation. You then have the advanced training, the teacher training, and then the Mystery School training. If you wish to do the advanced, the teacher, or the Mystery School trainings, you absolutely have to do the fundamental training first. You cannot go into any of the levels without first doing the fundamental training. So I just wanted to share that with you so you understood that process. So the whole of Transference Healing was anchored and channeled through by a lady called Alexis Cartwright, who lives over in Australia. And she kind of was, born awakened. And what was so unique for Alexis is that she did never shut down that, like most of us have done. But Alexis never, she always sustained that connection. So by the time she was like 19, she was kind of like an international reader. She was tarot card reader and professionally read for people. And over time, what happened as she was doing the reading, she started to realize that it wasn't enough just to kind of do a reading because it was so mental plane. She really needed to support people. She wanted to support people more. And what happened was she started to see people's energetic blocks in their body, how and why they manifested the disease that they did. And she started to begin to attune into the global grid matrix to find answers to those many questions. And so by the time that she was 29, she'd began to channel this new healing frequencies procedures. which is later on called Transference Healing. And these procedures help clear distortions held deep within the etheric body and to work with the alchemical properties of nature. So she was able to offer her clients to able to support them to shift their energetic patterning and be able to master transitional pain that was manifesting because of the earth changes that were occurring. And so through this whole process, she was able to anchor the foundations of transference healing. And this was kind of like a new way of healing that she anchored onto the planet, incorporating the human anatomy and also the technology of light and the technology of the grid. And this is really the core of transference healing, to provide a channel through which you can build your own connection to the light. So I just wanted to give you that bigger understanding all the way up into the mystery school trainings. Now, also what I want to say about the mystery school trainings is that even if you don't feel drawn to stepping into the mystery school training, and it's not for everybody at all, it's all delegated via your higher self. You will absolutely still get the frequencies of the mystery school teachings and energy, even at the fundamental level. They still come through. So what actually is the 4-day fundamental training? What's it about and what's it evolved? So we know that it's the absolute foundation of the transference healing energy, and we know that we if you feel drawn to doing any of the other trainings or even going up to the mystery school teachings, you have to absolutely first do the fundamental training. So in this 4-day fundamental training, what will happen is that you'll receive a profound and life-changing initiation into the transference healing diamond pyramid of life. And what will happen is that you'll be energetically templated and gridded to begin running transference healing energy. As you learn the fundamental procedures, you will also learn how to channel the transference healing frequencies to support your own divine healing and ascension process. So the fundamental procedures channel through frequencies and elements that come through from the earth and the cosmos. And in this training, you'll learn how to create alchemy in the body, supporting the light body integration and the ascension of the physical body into your 5th dimensional Adam Kadmon body. So when you commit to this self-healing journey, you're taking your first step towards self-mastery. By working on yourself, you shift the frequency of your body and consciousness while also creating change in your reality. So the fundamental procedures are the structural foundation to master as a healer. So regardless of how high levels you go within the transference healing training, you will always run the fundamental procedures, because you need to be able to create that alchemy in your physical body, like I explained earlier. So what actually happens when you run the energy? So when you run the fundamental energy, you're channeling through the transference healing ray. Now don't worry, anyone can run this energy as long as you're being gridded and templated to do so, which is what happens when you step into doing the fundamental training. So in working on yourself, you'll be working on your physical body and consciousness and your reality as well. You're going to be shifting and upgrading and creating changes in your world, while also initiating and supporting changes in those around you. You just run the energy and you will begin to open up. Over time, your awareness develops, your psyche opens up more, and you become a vessel for the light as you go through your own purification process. You release distortions, negativity, and self-limiting blocks within your own energy field that have been holding you back. And as you do this, more and more, you literally become lighter and lighter. You create frequency shifts within yourself and also within those around you. as they become more impacted by the light that you resonate. So the more you run the energy and clear the density and wounding held deep within your patterning, you're going to be able to integrate more light into your physical body and open yourself up to light body travel, having multi-dimensional experiences, and just having more magical and profound shifts in consciousness. So you are learning to become the light worker and master of self. But first of all, you need to go through that self-healing process, like I explained that I went through when I first encountered Transference Healing, because it's the fundamental energy that creates the foundation upon which alchemy can happen within your body and consciousness. So there are 29 procedures in total, and some of them are divine, so you won't run all of them. So what will happen is that you'll just run one after the other, and you'll just work through the manual. You'll have a manual and you'll just work through the manual. Now, it takes me now about half an hour to run the fundamental procedures, but initially it will take you longer. So you can run the energy on yourself, but you can also run it on family and friends. You can run it either face-to-face or absentee, but you cannot charge for the healing until you're a practitioner. Now, to become a practitioner, you have to attend the next level of training, which is the advanced training. And that training is all about the light body technology. And by running the fundamental with the advanced training, you are then entitled to become a practitioner. You can charge and you can be of more service, get out in the world and be of more service. So as you channel through the frequencies, you will begin to get a sense of what is happening within the patterning, because what's happening is that you're tapping into the patterning of the person, whether it's your own patterning or the person that you're working with. And as you do that, you'll begin to sense and feel imbalances. And at the end of the healing, what you'll be able to do is give like a sort of mini reading. And over time, you will just open up more and more to those goddess powers. You'll open up the psyche and you'll just get to understand more and more and more what is going on within that person's patterning and what's going on for them. You'll be able to go past life wounding, be able to understand their chiron wounding, and just be able to just balance them out. And so by running the energy, it just supports you to do this more and more. So it's a hugely empowering process. Now, once the healing's complete and the new frequencies have become woven into the patterning and the distortions, the blockages, the past life wounding has been cleared up until that point, it then takes a couple of weeks for the integration process to occur. And during this integration process, you may feel a bit altered or be a bit emotional as the shifts are happening deep within your patterning. Now, after that integration process of a couple of weeks, you'll then get a sense of rejuvenation, like more of a healing that's occurred. Because you've made that clearing process within yourself and your body's been able to rejuvenate that little bit more, as it's been able to pull in more of the energy from the global grid matrix, as we explained. So let's just have a look at some of these frequencies that you're going to be running, some of these 29 frequencies that you'll be running. So you're going to be running the 3 Pilates cries, which really starts to activate Christ consciousness within you, or within the person that you're running the energy in. You're going to be able to center the inner mind more, so just be able to calm that and center that mind. You're also going to be able to sever karmic pain, so clear karmic pain, any wounding and emotions involved with that. You're also going to be aligning and balancing the electromagnetic body. Remember how I said we're having much more electromagnetic energy come onto the planet, and that's what's causing a lot of the light body symptoms. So you're going to be able to work with that. We're also going to be working with the chakras and the glands. So clearing, balancing, and, charging the chakras more. Also going to be working with a metaphysical diamond procedure. So that's when you start going into doorways. You're able to go into someone's patterning, and if a doorway opens up because it's right for that person's doorway to open up, you're going to be able to go into a past life wounding, some sort of trauma, and be able to clear that through their patterning. It could also take you into their inner child wounding, but also into the future as well, and just clear that distortion. They're not going to be really necessarily connecting with it, but you're going to be able to clear it energetically at that point within that patterning, if it's right for them and it's the right timing for them to clear that. You're also going to be working with the Felix Vortex procedure, which really works with a deeper dimension of your solar plexus and your sacral. So that's where a lot of cords go in, a lot of hook-ins. That's where we have a lot of energy play issues go on. We can get really drained karmically with situations and with people. So it really works to clear that, support you to move on and let go. I'm also working with the grief procedure, mental pain procedure, also etheric surgery. Do a lot of etheric surgery to really clear etheric distortions and genetic imbalances that may be leading to physical issues. We're also working with a chiron, like I explained before. We're working with that specific chiron point so that you can start to clear deeper wounding that's really been holding you back from moving forward, and also holding back from self-healing. We'll be working with alchemical symbols and a magic procedure, and also working with the dragon power procedure, which is really, really powerful procedure and really connects you to the masters, to the initiation process, refines your intent, and also empowers divine will. Also holding power of light, which really helps you sustain those high levels of light and also your sense of self. Also working with the initiation of Razor's Masters, so working with that, and also the Merkaba procedure, so working with light body travel and Merlin magic. And you'll also receive a light body kit, so you'll have 77 light body essences in there, and you'll divine a light body essence for yourself or the person that you're working with, and they'll use that essence in that period of integration in the following weeks or so to support that integration process, so that they can really hold that new level of frequency that you initiated in the healing, so that they can then hold it in their physical body, conscious and reality, and integrate that healing. So that's what the light body it does. So when would you run that fundamental energy on yourself or on others? When would you feel drawn? Well, really, it's whenever you're feeling stuck. When you kind of just feel stuck within yourself, you don't feel like you're moving forward. Well, then you'd absolutely run the fundamental energy to keep clearing, to clear the blocks and to bring in new frequencies so that you can move through any blockages. Also, if you're in like some sort of emotional overwhelm, like there's got too many triggers going on for you, or if you're just not feeling well, and then absolutely you'd run the fundamental energy to really help clear any distortion within your etheric body and weave in new frequencies of light, higher frequencies of light, so that you can make a shift. So also when you're trying to make a shift within yourself, so often when you're trying to make a shift within yourself, you often feel like an internal pressure is building up inside of you. I don't know if you've ever experienced that. I get that a lot, and it's when I'm trying to make a frequency shift within myself. I'm trying to shift my frequency. So absolutely, I would run the fundamental energy on myself to support that. When you're having power plays, or you're having lack of faith or trust in yourself or the universe, or you're feeling a lot of fear, absolutely, I would run the fundamental energy on myself during that time. And also any of the light body symptoms, if you experience any of those light body symptoms, absolutely, you would then run the fundamental energy on yourself. So, a question I often get is, how often would you run that fundamental energy on yourself? Well, I tend to run it, it depends. If I'm going for a really big process, I would then run it perhaps maybe once or twice a week on myself. If I'm just going through an integration process and everything's ticking along nicely, I will perhaps run it on myself maybe maybe once a month or once every 2 weeks. But I also have a lot of procedures that I run on myself that are more mystery school procedures. So I do actually end up running a little bit of energy on myself every day. But in terms of doing a full healing, perhaps once every 2 weeks to once a month, if things are just ticking over nicely. But absolutely, if I'm in a huge shift, if I've got a lot of stuff going on around me, then I would absolutely run it a bit more. But I would just say, just tune into your higher self, and you'll know when to run the energy. You'll just start to, tune in a bit more and understand when you need to run the energy on yourself. So next question that I often get is, well, what do you run the fundamental energy on apart from yourself? What else can you run it energy on? Well, you can actually run it on space, and this is one of the things that I love to do. Is I actually run it on, like as I showed you, I run it on sacred sites. I run it to clear space. So whether I run it on a house, on the office, on your garden, you can run it on your business. I like to run it when I have a specific, if I have stuff going on, a specific issue, and I want to get more clarity, I will absolutely run energy on it. You can run energy on your children. It's really, really beneficial for the children, the new children coming through, the crystal children coming through. And you can absolutely run it on animals as well. So what's actually included in the fundamental training? So when you decide to step in and it just feels right for you to do so, you will be initiated and gridded to be able to run that 4-day fundamental training. So it doesn't matter whatever experience you've had prior, it doesn't matter. I know people that have been very, very, like have a corporate job, have done nothing to do with crystals, energy work, spiritual books, haven't read one single book, but have absolutely just stepped in because it's just been time. It's absolutely just been time for them. So it doesn't matter what previous experience you've had. If you feel drawn and it's right for you, absolutely, then you just step in. And you will, once you've gone through the 4-day process, you will absolutely be able to run that energy for yourself. So you'll receive a practitioner manual, and that's got huge amounts of information in that. You'll also receive a light body kit of 77 mother tincture vibrational essences. And each one of those essences has been directly channeled by Alexis herself. And that's her way of connecting with you personally, with the graduates. You'll also get a light body kit book that comes with the light body kit itself, that goes through every single essence and what each essence does. You also get a fundamental training certificate and also a graduate CD that's recorded by Alexis that just talks a little bit more about the process and where you can go from there. So where can you go from there? Well, as you start to learn and integrate the fundamental procedures, you're going to initiate a purification process within yourself. And through it, you will embody frequency shifts, all the while perfecting the way that you run the energy. So by continually practicing on yourself and loved ones, at some divine point in time, you will begin anchoring the more cosmic frequencies of the advanced level procedures, and you'll begin perfecting your electromagnetic field, allowing the alchemical changes in your body to manifest electromagnetic frequencies on the cellular level of your anatomy. So this allows you to integrate the 6-dimensional frequencies that facilitate light body integration. And so that's when you'll start to be divinely guided to go through universal initiations to hold higher frequencies of light. And it's at that point that you'll become guided to step into the advanced level training. And then maybe the teach training, and then going up to the mystery school trainings. Okay, so I just want to go now through the details of the next fundamental training. So I'm going to be holding the next fundamental training at the end of March, and I'm going to be holding it in my sacred space, which is my house. We're actually going to be moving. We're building our own next house. We built this house that you can currently see there, and I actually gridded the house. I embedded crystals in the whole of the foundation, so it really does hold a very pure and very high frequency of light, which really supports me to do the fundamental training. And so this is located in South Leicestershire. It's very, very good network, easy access. I'm located on junction 20, just off junction 20 of the M1, and it's just like 5-10 minutes away from junction 2 of the M6, so very, very easy access. If you're coming by train, it's Rugby Station, it's about 10 minutes away. Get a taxi, or Market Harbour is about 15-20 minutes away. I also do have people flying in as well. And so we have East Midlands Airport, that's about 20 minutes away. We have Birmingham International Airport, which is about half an hour, 40 minutes away. And we have Heathrow, which is an hour and a half, and Luton, which is an hour. So we've got, very, very easy access. If you are flying in or coming in and you want places to stay, just email me and I can give you a whole list of B&Bs or hotels that are nearby. I live in a small town, so there are B&Bs and hotels in the town, so you could literally walk every day in from there if you so wished. So the training dates are Thursday the 30th of March, going all the way through to Sunday the 2nd of April from 10 till 4-ish every day. So the investment in this training is £1,485. Now, you can pay if you want to use a credit card or check or cash, whatever's the most convenient for you. But what I will need, if you feel this training is right for you, I will need a deposit, and with that deposit, it helps me get your kit over from Australia. Because the kit comes directly over from Australia, because Alexis personally channels your kit, like I said earlier. And that takes time. That whole process takes time. So I will need, if you feel the training's right for you, I will need the deposit by the end of this month. So that it gives me enough time to contact headquarters and get the whole process going with the kit and the manual and everything. So to do that, you need to put down a deposit of £600. But I'm very happy for you to split that payment in two if you want for your deposit. So that would be £300 now, payable now, and then £300 at the end of February. So that makes the totality of your deposit £600, and then you can pay the balance when you come on your first on that Thursday. So how do you know this course is right for you? Well, obviously only you ultimately can decide that for you. All I do know, having watched this process with so many graduates over the years, is that it's just about really trusting your heart and trusting your intuition. If your heart and your intuition says yes, then often what happens is that then the ego starts to kind of come in, and all of the reasons why not come up, and that is completely normal. And that's kind of the challenge I feel for everyone who tries to step into the fundamental, if they do get that hit and that of yes, that just feels right. It's then having to work through all that ego stuff that comes up, the fear, the worry about the money or the timing, or the dynamics and relationships that could occur with all that stuff comes up. And that's part of the purification process that you need to go to. Now, I can, if you feel drawn, I can absolutely support you in that process through running energy on you. And if you feel that you do want to come and have a healing with me, just to support that process, I'm absolutely there for you if you so wish. Now, for some people, they just know and they just go with it. And for others, of course, like I said, they go through that whole process. Yes, they know it's right, but they then struggle because the ego comes and brings up a lot of stuff. So if I'm very happy also to offer the opportunity, if you do want to have a quick phone call conversation with me over the next few days, then absolutely just all you need to do is email me and get in contact with me, and we can set up a phone call and we can just talk through any of the processes, the internal process that you're going through, or any questions at all that you may have on the training in general. So I really, really look forward to seeing those of you who just know in your hearts of hearts that this is your next step in your ascension process. You just know it's right. And I really look forward to connecting in with you and supporting you and initiating you into this whole lineage of teachings through the 4-day fundamental training. So thanks so much for connecting in, and I will see you soon. Okay, bye.